Why intelligent people often feel lonely. Have you ever noticed that some of the brightest minds are often the loneliest? At first glance, it doesn't make much sense. After all, intelligence should make life easier. It should help people connect better, understand others more deeply, and build stronger relationships. But psychology suggests something different. In fact, many highly intelligent people often experience feelings of loneliness more frequently than others. And the reason is far more fascinating than most people realize. One psychological fact is that intelligent people tend to spend more time inside their own minds. Their thoughts are constantly active. While most people are satisfied with simple answers, highly analytical minds often question everything. They analyze situations, replay conversations, imagine possibilities, and search for meaning in places where others see nothing unusual. This ability to think deeply is a gift. But sometimes, gifts come with hidden costs. Because when your mind never rests, finding people who truly understand you becomes increasingly difficult. Another interesting fact is that intelligent people usually prefer meaningful conversations over small talk. They are less interested in gossip and more interested in ideas. They enjoy discussing life, human behavior, philosophy, dreams, fears, and the mysteries of existence. But the reality is that not everyone enjoys these kinds of conversations. Many people are comfortable talking about everyday events, trends, and entertainment. There is nothing wrong with that. But when your interests are different from the majority, you naturally begin to feel disconnected. And over time, that disconnection can turn into loneliness. Psychologists have also discovered something surprising. Highly intelligent individuals often have smaller social circles. Not because they dislike people. Not because they are arrogant. But because they value quality over quantity. Instead of having dozens of superficial relationships, they prefer a few genuine connections. They would rather spend an evening alone than surround themselves with people who drain their energy. Because for them, peace is more valuable than popularity. Another reason intelligent people experience loneliness is because they tend to notice things that others overlook. They recognize hidden intentions. They sense dishonesty. They observe contradictions. And sometimes, they become painfully aware of how complicated human nature really is. The more you understand people, the harder it becomes to idealize them. And while wisdom brings clarity, clarity can sometimes feel lonely. There is another psychological factor at play. People with high intelligence often set very high standards for themselves. They overthink their decisions. They criticize themselves. They worry about making mistakes. And because they see countless possibilities, they often struggle to live fully in the present moment. Their minds become crowded with thoughts about the future, the past, and questions that have no simple answers. This habit of overthinking creates mental distance between them and the world around them. Ironically, the same mind that gives them extraordinary abilities can also become the source of their loneliness. But perhaps the most important reason is empathy. Many intelligent individuals feel things deeply. They understand pain. They understand suffering. They understand loss. And because they see beyond appearances, they often carry emotional burdens that others never notice. They become the friend who listens. The person who understands everyone else. Yet sometimes, they secretly wish someone would understand them in return. And that is a loneliness that words cannot easily describe. However, there is something important to remember. Loneliness is not proof that something is wrong with you. It does not mean you are broken. And it certainly does not mean that you are destined to be alone forever. Sometimes, loneliness simply means that you have not yet found your tribe. The people who appreciate your thoughts. The people who understand your silence. The people who make you feel accepted without asking you to pretend. Because real connection is not about being surrounded by hundreds of people. It is about being truly seen by a few. And history gives us many examples. Some of the greatest thinkers, writers, scientists, and philosophers spent long periods in solitude. Not because they hated humanity, but because solitude allowed them to reflect, create, and understand themselves. And perhaps that is the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is feeling abandoned. But solitude is choosing peace. One drains the soul. The other nourishes it. So if you sometimes feel different, if you often feel misunderstood, if you find yourself enjoying meaningful conversations more than crowded rooms, and if you occasionally feel lonely despite being surrounded by people, perhaps you are not strange. Perhaps your mind simply seeks depth in a world that often rewards distraction. And maybe, just maybe, being alone is not always a curse. Sometimes, it is the place where wisdom grows. Because the brightest lights often shine quietly. And some of the deepest souls are the ones who spend the most time in silence. But eventually, every light finds another light. And when it does, loneliness is replaced not by noise, but by understanding.